Alright everyone, welcome back again to Witch on the Holy Night. As of this video, we have concluded the bonus 8 chapter, or not bonus 8 chapter, bonus extra chapter. And we're gonna pretty much continue with the last of the other bonus chapters that continue on afterwards. So if anything guys, I want to thank you all for the love and support. Hope you all continue to enjoy. And let's do this. Alright everyone, and we are back. This man had become her grandfather's disciple, forged an unrivaled friendship with him, and yet had still mercilessly cut him down when the desire arose. He possessed some sort of superhuman ability that had allowed him to destroy the mortal vessel of a mage who had been infinitely close to being a magician.
ああ、ほんとうさんくさい、めんどくさい。でも、目障りだから絶対殺すし、魔法を奪ってからの仕事がまた一つ増えちゃったじゃない。バカエリ。
Toko put her glasses back on and turned on her heel. She had completed all her major tasks for the day. All that was left was to make some money to buy food for her familiar and head back to the hideout.
何あの乙女軸!
Setting aside Bale's mental shot of dismay for a moment, the scent that had been bothering him for the past few days had suddenly disappeared. His employer was back to being the old Toko Aozaki he knew, and she was headed into the entertainment district. Bale sniffed at the air. The scent had vanished, and he no longer had a reason to continue tailing Toko. But where had it gone? And where had it come from in the first place? Bale thought about it for a few moments.
さっきの男が怪しいよね。
Bale regained his composure and decided to follow the trail of the man's scent. He had no idea that where he was going was his employer's worst nightmare. Ida Church was set up to accept visitors any time of day, any day of the year. The church was the savior of the lost and the poor, and recently had even ventured into the wedding industry for some extra income. It was closely involved with the public welfare of Misaki City and was doing fairly well for itself in that regard. However, there was one problem.
エイリ神父はまた外出ですか。律香もサボタージュ。奉仕の生徒さんたちも日に日に減っていく一方。結局、労働力は私一人だけなのですね。
Even if their financial situation was stable, they seemed to be chronically understaffed.
だいたい、この町の人々は新人が足りなさすぎます。給金がなければ働けないなど、人生を何だと思っているのでしょう。物欲だけで構成された一日を過ごしていては、懐は豊かになっても、心が貧しくなるだけでしょうに。
The nun muttered to herself quietly as she picked up the stepladder with one hand. Although it was a proper stepladder they used for cleaning the church windows, it weighed too much to be carried by even two strong adults. The mass didn't seem to faze her.
人々の心の荒廃も気になりますが、物価の上昇も捨ておけません。消費税なるものの導入もささやかれますし、エイリ神父にはもっと一日で驚異的な成果を上げる結婚式の素晴らしさを知っていただかないと。あの人は誰彼何彼気分で世話をして後のこととか考えませんから。裏庭に集まった野良猫たちはどうするんですか。ああ、私ですね。それも私が受け持つのですね。もう何でもかんでも肉体労働は私なのですね。
This nun mumbling to herself at a near constant pace was Sister Yuika Suze. There was a reason for her unusual behavior. Yuika was completely blind and had honed her other senses to keenly perceive her surroundings. She was extremely sensitive to the presence of living creatures, particularly humans, and could detect when someone was within a radius of 30 feet. The reason why she was talking to herself so openly now is because she did not sense anyone was near.
今日の余り物はと。ああ、もらい物でジャムの詰め合わせがありましたね。どうなのでしょう、主よ。猫って2日経った岩のように硬いパンでも ペーストすればいける口なんでしょうか。玉ねぎだけは出すなと律香が言っていた気がしますが。
Sister Yuika was busy putting away the cleaning tools while simultaneously trying to prepare dinner for the hungry animals mewing in the back garden. When suddenly,
おや、新しい迷子ですか？
Sister Yuika suddenly sensed the presence of a small dog in the church.
ごめんなさい。今日は猫限定の日なの。君が混ざってしまったら猫どもが驚くわ。餌ならここで恵んであげますから、中に入るのはまた今度にしてくださいね。それ以上入ったら向かいの家の屋根あたりまでご退場願いますよ。
She put her foot in front of the small brown dog to stop him from coming any further inside the church's gate. Yuika is somewhat rougher in her treatment of non-human creatures.
何この神気臭い生き物。
Bale, who had convinced himself to transform into a small dog instead of a wolf like he really wanted, only saw Sister Yuika as an obstacle in his way. He could smell the scent of the man in black ahead of further inside. Bale thought little of humans, and in this moment, Sister Yuika was simply an obstacle. So naturally, he ignored her warnings and attempted to push through the gate.
なんでしょう、この色。この子、すごい色していますけど、もしかして高級な品種なのでしょうか。だとしたら。
She can sense color. That's interesting. He might be some wealthy person's pet. Since the dog came to the church, its rich owner might also attend church services. Yuka stopped trying to push the dog away from the gate.
ごめんなさいね。エイリ神父が目当てなんでしょうけど、また出かけてしまったの。今日一番の餌をあげますから、おとなしく帰ってくださいませ。
ああ、もう邪魔、この神気臭い人。よし、周りに誰もいないし、首を噛み折ろ。
Bale's front leg stopped suddenly before he could launch himself at Sister Yuika. Sister Yuika opened the lid of the bottle she held and poured out a glimmering liquid into a small dish. She set it down in front of the dog.
ほら、お食べ。
The mysterious unknown liquid sat in front of Bale. It smelled like nothing he'd ever smelled before. Bale was known to let curiosity get the best of him. Even if it was poison, no poison of the natural world could harm him. He laughed up a mouthful.
何？
He laughed up a little more.
この
He laughed up even more.
味。
He laughed up more and more.
おや、牛乳を飲むような舐めっぷり。犬ながら惚れ惚れします。
これ、もっと欲しい。
The church became filled with the echoes of Bale's boisterous barking. At this point, he completely forgotten about the man's scent.
甘いですか？私も感動しました。犬どもにも甘味をたしなむ心があるのですね。
甘い。これが甘いってこと？
Bale looked up at Sister Yuika as she whispered to him. He had the feeling that sweet was an important word he should remember. This food sent a sensation through him that was like a flash of lightning. Until this point, eating food had been nothing more than a process of refueling. He liked hamburgers, but that never amounted to more than a preference for a particular mouthfeel. He only ate because he needed the nutrition. But this was different. This food was not necessary to his survival. And yet, he knew he wanted more. He didn't really need it, but it made him feel good. It was like food for his soul rather than his body.
あれ、そもそもこの匂いって。
He stopped wagging his tail. The golden wolf in the form of a small dog sat with the food that was the very origin of his name in front of him. Beowulf was faced with a difficult problem he was unable to solve.
ただいま。
はい。おかえりなさい、ベオくん。遅いお帰りにお姉さん心配しちゃった。こんな時間まで無断外出とか心配したぞ。教育係兼飼い主としてバッボーイしなくちゃいけないから、そこに正座。
Bale had transformed back into human form and returned to the workshop. Toko was waiting there for him with a big strange smile on her face.
あ、そうか。
Bale knew he had messed up. He had failed to get back home before Toko because of Sister Yuika.
星座は嫌です。そりゃ無断で外に出てたけど、誰にも見つかってないし、別に僕悪いことしてないし。
Technically, he almost did.
誰にも見つかっていない？ってことはベオくん、裏山で遊んでたの？
裏山じゃなくて町。気づかなかったでしょ。実はトウコさんを尾行していただけなのです。
Toko froze at Bale's completely unexpected response. But she was used to him by now. She just sighed and rubbed her head, now throbbing from a terrible headache.
いいでしょう。見つからなければいたずらじゃないと教えたのは私だしね。主人の尾行禁止とは命令していなかったし。今回の尾行については不問に付します。でもどうやって人目を避けたの？その格好だったらさすがに気づくと思うんだけど、私。
そこは企業秘密です。教えたら今日みたいなトウコさんもう見れなくなっちゃうし。楽しそうだったよね、あの人と。
Toko's response was both honest and out of character. Even Bale was surprised at how taken aback she was by his statement.
それは違う。どんな勘違いをしたのか知らないけど、あれはただの交渉よ。教会の神父相手に町を人質に見立てて不干渉を念押ししただけで。
いや、楽しそうに見えたのは女の人の方だけど。あの全身ぐるぐる巻きに自分を縛ってた方。
Woman and Wolf stared at each other for a silent moment. Bale looked satisfied with himself and his secret information.
つまり、あれってトウコさんのつがい？
Toko nearly choked at the utterly fearless question. The puppet master wordlessly removed their glasses and tamped down her emotions.
なんでそんな言葉だけ知ってるんだお前は。耳戸島にも程があるぞ。
こんなの生き物として普通の言葉じゃない。まあトウコさんが普通の生き物だとは思っていなかったから僕としても意外だけど。それでどうなの？あのパッとしないポテトみたいなオス、何？
Bale was suddenly irritated. He was irritated, but he couldn't figure out why.
何も何も、お前の言う通りしなびたフライドポテトだよ。少なくとも私にとってはね。気にする価値もないし、食べたくなるような魅力もない。
本当？ただの敵？トウコさんにとって特別なのは僕だけ？
ああ、今のところはね。焼けぼっくいに火がつくかとも思ったが、完全にしけっていた。あれを前にしてどうこう思うのはもう二度とないだろうさ。
そっか、なんでもないならもう忘れることにします。でも焼けぼっくいって何？
思い出を蒸し返して前後不覚に陥ること。まあその可能性だって少しはあったと思うよ。あんなんでも私の初恋の相手のようだし。
Bale had no first-hand experience with love, but he at least understood the concept of a first love.
初恋ってトウコさんに？
つがいはありで初恋はなしとか、どれだけ私を動物的に見ているんだお前は。昔の話だよ。私が10代になったばかりで、あれが祖父の弟子だった頃の話だ。奴は魔術ではなく精神修行の一環として祖父と付き合っていたが。
Toko spoke indifferently, and it was clear from the look on her face that there was no longer any attachment there. Yet there was still a tenderness in her words that caused Bale to furrow his brow.
トウコさん、まだ好きなわけ？
いや、
自分でも呆れるぐらい何もなかった。ただ青春の幻影というのかな。そういう頃の象徴のような知人とは話すだけで懐かしいものなんだよ。人間的には全く魅力を感じなくなったが、奴と話しているだけでこう昔の自分を思い返して笑いたくなる。
Bale grew only more confused as Toko spoke with such passion. He couldn't wrap his head around the concept that she hated him yet somehow also still liked him.
そういうの僕お前には好き嫌いがないからな。ロジックだけじゃ人の関係は解けないよ。そんなのあります。食べ物だって襟好みするじゃんか僕。お前の基準は有益か無益かだけだろ。野生動物にとって味覚は十分な栄養値があるかないかを測るセンサーでしかない。栄養値を度外視して食事をとるのは人間だけだ。自分の体に合っているからその食材を好むではないんだよ。人は楽しいか楽しくないかで食事をとる。好きなものが甘く見えるのはそのためだ。甘いもの、好きなものって甘く見えるの？ものの例えだが苦くは見えないだろ。まあ人によってはそれもありだが、そのあたりはあれだな、性癖の問題だ。卵が先か鶏が先かの話さ。好きだから甘いのか、甘いから好きなのかとね。でも僕、トウコさんは甘く見えないけど。そりゃそうだろう。そもそもお前はまだ生きていないからな。あるだけのものと生きていることはまた別の話だ。皮肉な話だがね、その違いを知ったとき、お前は無敵ではなくなるよ、ベオ。さあ、夕食だ。今日も大勝ちしたからな。霜降りのいいところを買ってきたぞ。
Toko walked into the classroom, back in her usual mood. Bale lingered in the hallway looking dejected. You're not actually alive. Those words pierced right through Bale's heart, but he didn't quite know why yet. The 3 weeks would pass before he got a hint of why that was the case. Lou Beowulf was perfect, and yet he would lose at the hands of a particularly imperfect creature. The sound of a phone ringing echoed through the empty hallways of the school. It was January, and both the mage who had remodeled the building and the magician who had expelled her from it were long gone. The telephone that Toko had installed on a whim rang and rang without letting up, as if it knew for sure that someone was there to answer it. Something rustled inside. There were definitely no people inside the school building, but there was one non-human creature sleeping there.
はい、こちら伽藍の堂第二出張店。天使は尻尾巻いて逃げ出した後ですので、ご用のある方は発信音の後にメッセージを。トウコさん？うん、はいはい。どうぞ行ってらっしゃい。僕のことはお構いなく。
The classroom was occupied by a young boy with blonde hair. Even before the phone rang, he was in human form. It used to be that when he was alone, he would always doze off in his wolf form, but not anymore. There was no real need for him to stay in his human form, but he did anyway. It was now his normal state of being when he was not in combat.
じゃ、必要になったら呼んでよね。契約は切れたけど、僕はまだトウコさんの使い魔だし。うん、そう。嫌味なんかじゃないって。狼はね、誇り高いんだよ。トウコさん以上の雇い主が見つかるまで、首輪はそっちに預けておきます。
Bale couldn't help but wonder where Toko was traveling. She had accepted her loss and ended her contract with her familiar. She said it was because she hadn't fulfilled her promise to let him fight magic. However, that was actually the fault of her familiar and not her responsibility at all. Bale had not fulfilled his duty as her bodyguard yet.
で、トウコさんは今どこ？
It was the name of a country he wasn't familiar with. After the battle, she had promptly left Japan to develop a way to break the curse.
何が敗北を認めただよ。それって、まだ諦めてないってことじゃん。
Toko laughed on the other line. Somehow, Bale sensed a tropical scent coming through the phone. Whether that was a mystical effect of Toko's handcrafted phone, or the werewolf's super senses was unclear.
じゃ、さっさと帰ってきてね。僕はこっちに残ってるから。おいしいお土産よろしく。
Toko asked him why. If he had really decided to stay on as her familiar, there was no reason for him to stay there.
実は僕もよくわかんない。
As he stumbled over his words, Bale patted his chest a few times and remembered the pain he had felt.
まあ、なんと言いましょうか。ここにいれば、甘いってどんなものか、わかるような気がするのです。
The wolf who had learned to accept being wasteful expressed his future goal in a happy voice. Thus concluded an exceptionally rare case of first love, sweet as honey. Honey glazed meat. Okay, so this was technically what I would call a past chapter, but then it takes place later on in the present, after like the background story of how they got into the old schoolhouse. Okay, so that takes care of that. I think I'm gonna follow up next with, which one's this one? 8.5, the Carnegie case, and then we have, what is the newest one here? Oh, whiteboard. Okay. Alright, now we're going to start going in order, actually. Hold on a second. Martha, and then... Alright, so the next one we're going to do is 1.5, which we probably should have done in the beginning, but I neglected it, so... We'll continue on in the next one, guys. So, thank you again for watching, and we will then continue and finish up these last bonus chapters.